Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast
with your host, the 2023 IBWAA Podcast Host of the Year, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. The saddest day of baseball, and then the most exciting days of baseball, all real quick, close there. The saddest day is the last day of the regular season. And this time there was a bunch of stuff, especially even a team that I never liked, Oakland, the A's, and their pending movement, and, kind of watching the fans there go through that. And then, of course, the playoffs. So, and then you forget all about Oakland because they're not in the playoffs.
That's true.
Sometimes you even forget about where to find Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast online. And it's real easy. On Twitter, at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram, at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. And you can go onto our website, click on either the Angels or Dodgers link, and find playoff gear for the Dodgers, for sure. But go through there. That's your portal into any other team. So we're going to talk playoffs today. We're going to do a quick wrap on the regular season. We'll get into regular season wrap-ups a little more in depth. But really we just need to look at what happened. How did the season end real quick? What happened with the Dodgers? Did they win the West? Did they were already in the playoffs, but did they do that? We're going to look at all that. We're also going to talk playoffs because the wild cards have been going on, and say farewell. So instead of doing like this week, it would be Dodgers and then silver lining. This week, we're going to go ahead and do the Angels first because there's a lot less to talk about in the final two series for the Angels. So the Angels won one game in Houston. We talked about that last week. And then they headed to Chicago. And they went to Chicago needing to lose two more games to tie their worst record. And then to go over it, they just needed one more to be 96 because 95 is the most they ever lost. But they're playing the White Sox. The White Sox go into this game having tied the all-time losingest record, needing one more so that they could hold that record alone.
Yes, stand alone.
And the Angels couldn't give it to them.
I think at one point during one of the games, I was watching highlights and I heard White Sox fans booing that they won.
They probably wanted.
They wanted the 121, and they didn't get it.
And
they wanted it.
They were denied.
They were. The Angels denied them.
No stairway. Denied. That was it. They were done. Swept by the 120 loss. Now, even Logan Hoppy said that's just below average. It just sucks. He's like, yeah, we're gonna have to think on it. But when the team that is supposed to be the worst team and you get beat, you show what it really means to be in the baddest part of town. Then, that's just, yeah.
I know. What do you say about, you can't really say anything about the series. I mean, the last game, they got no runs.
Nope.
No runs, 7-0. The White Sox beat them. And their winning ways of the White Sox continued over those three games. So where they started off at 36 and 120, they end up, 39. Like,
and 120.
And 120.
That 120 didn't move. And you knew it was going to have to, because the Tigers were coming to town and the Tigers were working to get a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like they went from 120 to 123. The White Sox in the season 41 and 121.
Yeah.
They beat the Tigers twice. The Tigers also won the first game, got into the playoffs. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
And then lost the next two, which actually cost the Tigers a seeding spot, because they were 5 and Kansas City was 6. When they lost 2 to the White Sox, they became the 6th. But I don't think that matters, and we'll talk about that coming up in Around Baseball. So the Angels come home to finish up the season, thinking we'll take on the Rangers and see if we can. We don't want to go out bad, right? That's the last thing you want to do. We just got, we just had a terrible run versus the White Sox, and we got beat 7-0 in the finale. Let's take on Texas. We beat Texas before.
Well, and it's the last series of the season, of the regular season. You want to give your fans, something to cheer about. It's fan appreciation. They're there to have fun.
Right. And so the Rangers, in the spirit of fun, bring out Jacob deGrom to pitch versus Reed Detmers, and what Reed Detmers, it'll be his final outing of the year. And he was like good and bad.
Yeah.
He gave up 8 hits and 4 runs, 3 of those being home runs, and I think it was like a 4-homer day for the Rangers. Whereas deGrom only pitched 4 innings, struck out 5, only gave up 1 run on 4 hits. Reed, on the other hand, did go 5 innings and did strike out 12. So there was something good there. But yeah, it didn't really work out real well for him. And like I said, it was a 4-homer day for the Rangers. Carson Kelly, Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, and Marcus Semien, all with home runs. And that would be a 5-2 win over the hapless Angels. So there's a 4-game losing streak going on right now. Next night out, a little more exciting. The Angels score 8 runs in the first 6 innings, actually 7 of them in the second and the third, and end up getting outscored by 6 runs in the 8th and the 9th by the Rangers. They were up. I remember walking out of the house to go get something to eat, come back. It was like 7-1, and then it was 7-2, then it was 7-3, then it was 8. And I was like, oh, okay, we're okay. And it was like 8-2, 8-3. And so I just figured, oh, okay, they're gonna win one. And I got doing something else. And I look at the scores later and it goes, epic, meltdown by Angels. I'm like, what? And it was. They lose this 9-8. And they continue the losing streak, 6 games. You think, okay, it doesn't really matter in the big picture. And in this last series, Zach Neto doesn't play. He had a shoulder problem, sliding into second or something. So they hold him off and think, oh, he'll probably play. Well, he ends up not playing the finals. Logan O'Hoppe and Nolan Ryan Shanuel. While O'Hoppe plays in this game, Shanuel doesn't, and all 3 of those guys are out for the final game. And what do you want when you got a bunch of guys who are old? Jack Lopez, like 31. He's a career minor leaguer. Eric Wagaman, who played really well since being called up, but he's also an older guy. Gustavo Campero was hired as signed as a bullpen catcher at one time. And he's in his 30s. He's finally, getting some playing time. Those guys, Campero hit his first major league home run. Cavadas hit a home run. But we're playing with a bunch of guys. Really, the guys who played pretty much every game this season, Taylor Ward, he was there. Kevin Pillar in what could be his final games, because now when they talk to him, he's like, well, I pretty much figured this was it. But one day I want to do it, another day I don't want to do it. And, it just depends. He spends time with the family, and he's like, I really need there. My wife wants me to be home to take care of their boys. And then on another day, the family's there at the ballpark, and he likes that part of, how they're coming to see daddy play. Brandon Drury, who's probably done with the Angels, not really closing out very strong. Kevin Pillar didn't either. So guys auditioning for, their next chance, see what happens next year. Griffin Canning comes out. He's another guy. Will he be tendered come this spring, or January, I guess, or will he not? For the most part, he probably will be. They're not going to give up on him quite yet. He goes 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, only strikes out 4. And it pretty much ends up being a bullpen game, really, after that, because they throw a lot of relievers at the end of that. And, it was a meltdown. They lose it. It just wasn't good.
Yeah.
So you get to the final game of the season, and don't you want to win this last 162? Don't you want to win that game?
Yes, in front of your fans at home.
And it's Fan Appreciation Weekend. The whole up until Sunday, selected items were 50% off in the Angels team store there at the stadium.
Oh.
I don't know what selected items were.
I know. Were they good items?
And if they were only half off of the, I want you to give me a discount that matches up. What percentage of games has Anthony Rendon played? And then I want the remaining numbers. So if he's played 20% of the Angels games since he's been an Angel, I want 80% off all Anthony Rendon.
I think that is fair. That is totally fair.
Anyway, Rendon, of course, finished off the season with the other veteran, who, when we talk more in depth about the Angels after the season's over, after the playoffs and everything, we'll get in more depth. But I think Paramanasian is a little done with both of those guys too, especially Rendon.
Yeah, it's harder to
be done with Trout than it is with Rendon, but he's they need to give better. They need to be better.
He's had it up to here.
And
with those guys,
whatever that here is,
I don't know.
And you know what? He'll say, I had it up to here, up to his head. And then Artie will come along and push him down to about his knee. I've had it up to my knee with Rendon. Don't do that, because next year both of his knees will be hurt and he won't play again next year. But we'll go on about that. Lots said, and very specifically about Rendon. He's going to have to earn his spot.
Mm-hmm.
Until Artie says otherwise. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, the Angels, hey, final game of the season. You pull out all the stops. Only Taylor Ward, like I said, really the guy who's been there all season long. Jack Kahanowitz, who the rookie who's pitched pretty well, are there. Once again, a bunch of AAAers, Kevin Pillar, Brandon Drury, and then Taylor Ward. That was it. And what did Jack Kahanowitz do? He went 7 innings. gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, only struck out 1, but that's not bad. He held him to 3 runs. And then, well, as usual, a couple of guys from the bullpen, Zuniga and Contreras especially, gave up the remainder of the runs. 5 more runs. And what did the Angels do? Nothing.
They were scoreless. They got 4 hits this whole game.
They were like, I almost wonder if the guy we talked about from the minor leaguer who was released because he was, telling the other team, was
What
giving
the
them the
pitches were.
pitches.
Yeah.
I wonder if he had been out there, if that would have helped the Angels.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know. I don't think it would have, honestly.
Probably not.
Anyway, the Rangers, who had a tough season, and this is interesting because the Rangers didn't make the playoffs, and we might as well tell you now, the Diamondbacks didn't make the playoffs.
They did not.
And this is the first time that neither team that plays in the World Series didn't make the playoffs the next year. One of the two it's happened, but never both. And the Rangers, they were out of it earlier on, but the Diamondbacks, anyway, they didn't take care of their business is what happened there. So the Angels end this horrible season with 99 losses. Ron Washington said he hadn't thought about it till the last day. And then that day he woke up on the morning of the last game, and it just hit him all at once. And he said, losing 99 games is not a lot of fun. He says there's been fun along the way. But the one thing he said, and the one thing Perry Manassian seemed to be agreeing with, is that there was growth. And that was what they needed. You got a core of young players who potentially could grow into, solid veterans as the years go. And with a little better on-field leadership, because as much as, Trout can be a dugout leader, he leads better when he's on the field.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And he hasn't been on the field almost the entire season. So it makes it tough. I mean, Washington said in an interview.
I cannot tell a lie. I did not chop down the cherry. Or I did chop down the cherry tree.
That's right. That's what he said. No, he actually said, we're going to get talking about next season. We're going to get some baseball players who may not be superstars, but they know how to play. We forgot to bring real baseball players into the organization. Nothing against those guys here, but they're not big league baseball players, and they certainly can't help us win a championship. Now, I was like, whoa, he said that? Good for him. And then he walked it back. It's like, come on. But I don't think he was saying, and he said, there isn't anything against the guys here, but you have made the comment over and over. It's a AAA, or it's a minor league club that was playing. And they're young players. There was growth. There are maybe some players who need to bring back. Talking about Zach Neto, and dial it down a notch. But I think he's also looking at the front office to see, what did they do? But then he clarified what he said. He said, I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I'm saying that the organization isn't giving me big league players. It's players that have to grow into big league players.
Right. Yeah. I need them to learn. They're still learning.
Right.
And some didn't some didn't remember to learn or something like that at some point.
Yeah, and I mean,
So-
Trout was in 29 games this year. Rendon played 57 games.
Oh,
You get a better discount. You get free.
wow. Yeah, it should be.
Well, it just be just free anyway. But you look at the players, Nolan Shanuel, Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, Joe Dell, they're all 25 or younger. And
Right.
so a lot of guys don't even make it into the majors until they're
31.
20, they're
Like
31.
Jack Lopez.
Exactly.
Tempero or
Yeah, like
Wagaman.
28, 29. They're still, and these guys have been playing a full season, and
Well, it's because they didn't have anybody else. They have
Exactly.
no depth there. And like I said, we can go in depth with this.
yeah, and we will.
Later. But just to give an idea, is that they're both coming out. Manassian came out and said this was a terrible season, and we're going to make some changes. We don't know how much money we have to spend. Blah 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 blah. We don't know what Artie's going to say. We don't know if he means it that Rendon may not be. Rendon. The problem for Rendon is he's still got 2 seasons left. Is Artie going to be willing to eat 70 some odd million on this guy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think he will.
My hope was that based off what Manassian said, what's his name says, Rendon says, maybe I will just retire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like he was already, maybe he had been thinking about that in his time away.
I don't know, all seasons that he's been with the Angels.
I know, right?
The season in 2020, the season was too long.
Yeah, he needs.
him.
I think that he should just retire. I think he's
I
done. I don't think he. Why are you there? Just you're done.
He can work out a deal.
Yeah.
Steven Strasburg got all of his money, but they can work out a deal and say, hey, how about this? What's left is 70 some odd million. We'll give you half of that and you just go away.
Yeah, I would take it.
And what, he's been making 30 million a year plus that, unless he's, I don't know what he's spending it on. If he doesn't, I'm guessing he's got some left, but
you would hope. You would hope.
I don't know.
Some left.
Hopefully he's investing better, but yeah, it's time to let him go. Anyway, he didn't figure into the end, as did most of the Angels players. It was primarily just a bunch of minor leaguers with Taylor Ward, Kevin Pillar, Brandon Drury thrown in there. Oh, and Matt Thaiss. He's been up long enough that we
we can throw him in there too.
And he got a double in that game. So
yeah,
final game. But that's it. They finish 63 and 99. And really, my feeling is there's going to be changes for next year. And my first thought was so that you can challenge 121. You're going for 122?
Well, I wonder, just because of how Artie is, will Ron Washington still be there?
Well, it sounds like he will still be there, and the full coaching staff is coming back. That's what's been put out there.
Okay.
So unlike a lot of teams, which on Monday the 30th started seeing coaches being fired, including one of my all-time favorite Angels, Mike Napoli, got fired as the first base coach in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs, not the White Sox.
Right.
And he, and a lot of coaches right now are being fired. And you'll see some managers are going to be let go probably as well. All of that's happened. The Angels, and that's only fair, I think, that they get, based on the team, based on the amount of injuries the no, there's just no depth, and they need to rebuild that farm system. Like I said, it's great. They can say, "Oh, look at these guys that have made it to the majors," and like Christian Moore, who was this last year's the second baseman taken, who was they figured he would make it up and be called up early on, but then he got injured down in Madison with the Trash Pandas. He probably would have made it up. Ron Washington said we wouldn't be having this conversation had he not got injured, because he would have been there. But that just tells you that all the talent that they have, they're having to bring up right away. And the guys that they brought up later were all the 30-year-olds that have been there. They finally get their chance in the majors.
Right.
And next season, they'll all be back down in double or maybe triple A.
I mean, with Washington, obviously, I think he deserves another season. I don't know what his contract is, but he deserves another season because look what he was handed, right? And, what he had to mold it. He had to mold the team. And so at one point during the season, he's like, okay, if we win games, that's great. But now this is instructional league.
Right,
and
exactly.
That's what he had to do.
All right. I think, I don't know about you. Do you have a player of the week?
I don't. I have to be honest with you. I have notes, and I wrote down Dodgers first, and then I wrote more about the Dodgers and more stuff, and I never wrote anything down about the Angels. I looked at the box, but I never wrote it down. So I guess that was how the season went. I just never wrote it down.
Yep. Out of sight, out of mind with them. If you're not thinking about them, even though they're half of your podcast.
I know, but
anyway,
I just didn't.
It's hard, especially in that last week when they got swept by the White Sox. They might as well have just not even played the Rangers.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, this is just over. And
there was a tweet that said the Angels should be relegated for this.
Yes.
And that, if you're watch soccer or football, and in
I didn't even know what relegated was until I watched what's his name?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. That's when I learned about relegation.
Or if you watch the Wrexham, the team.
I never did.
Yeah, so you move leagues. So where would, if the Angels had been relegated, if that was a thing, where would they go?
San Bernardino.
Oh,
Low
wow. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't see them competing. They can't compete with their own AA team.
Yeah.
Because most of the pitchers that they brought up that had success came from there.
That's true.
And even other guys, that seems to be their jumping off point. AAA has got the veterans, the Crash Davises of the world who have been in baseball forever, but they've never made it to the show or had short times there. That's where the AAA guys are. The real talent for the Angels is Trash Panda players in Madison, Alabama.
So I want to go back to the player of the week. So I did think about player of the week, but it's kind of an unorthodox. I was going to give it to Ron Washington because of what he said, but then I had to take it away because he retracted his statement.
Relegate him to someplace else.
To not even honorable mention.
No. Well, I decided that since the Angels, the next time that they play will be spring training of 2025. There's no more this season.
Okay.
I gave them. I gave guys. I gave Eric Wagaman the last one, I think, and he deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to give one, I guess I could do like, the player of the season. I think I would give it to either Zetto or Taylor Ward.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Well, that went longer than I expected. We talked more about the Angels than I had expected because we have so much more to talk about with the Dodgers. And in their final 6 games, they had to play the Dregs in a meaningful series. Yeah, at this time of year, normally they're not playing meaningful games.
No.
And the question is, coming out of the San Diego matchup, going into the Colorado series in Denver, were any of those games going to be meaningful games? Or was it just the last homestand of Charlie Blackmon? Well, it was the last homestand of Charlie Blackmon, that's for sure. That was going to happen regardless.
Yes.
But before we get to that, let's talk about the Dodgers. Already in the playoffs, we know that. But will they be a wild card? Will they got to play the Padres, and the Padres are like within 3 games at the point that they come into that series. So if the Dregs sweep them, the Dregs own the tiebreaker. And we already know that the Dregs went on to pretty much beat up the D-backs. So what happened with the Dregs and the Dodgers? Game 1 of the series in the Ravine. Luckily, they didn't have to go down to Petco, because I'm going to tell you right now, that's a tough place to play. Petco, that is. So they're playing the Padres there September 24th, 7:10 start time. It was a 2-hour and 44-minute game. And honestly, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, because even though the Dodgers scored in the first inning, that's not really been indicative of anything.
No.
Signifies nothing. Landon Knack on the hill. And I don't know. They've got like 3 aces on this team. And so they send one of the 3, Michael King, to the mound. And then, of course, that killer bullpen comes into play as well.
I think in this first game, obviously a lot of hype, but I felt like everything felt flat in this particular game, this first game.
No fizz.
No fizz. And the way the game ended was like, what? What just happened? And then the next day I heard, the Dodgers suck. They're horrible. They might as well just forget it. They deserve to be the wild card, because the game ends on a triple play. How often do games end on a triple play?
There was so much talk. So the final score in this one's 4-2.
Yeah.
The Dodgers scored the one in the first, and they scored the second one in the 9th. And I was
going to say, they were trying to make a comeback.
Yes. They had runners on first and second. And then there became this whole conversation in the Twitterverse about whether or not Miguel Rojas should have bunted.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, there's no excuse for not bunting. All these, experts.
Yeah, that's sitting in an armchair or recliner.
They could be laying on the floor. Whatever they're doing, they're trying to say that's what should have happened. Okay, nobody says that wasn't an option, but as Howard Cole, who is a Dodger writer, said in Twitter, he said he still could have bunted into a triple play, or at least a double play. So they end up getting nothing or very little anyway.
Right. Well, and he had started the at bat, bunting, and it didn't work. So if he bunted again, or showed he was going to square to bunt, the Padres were already moving in. So Howard Cole, that's exactly right. It didn't matter if he hit the ball or if he bunted it. That triple play was still
and
seemed inevitable.
There are times when you throw your hands up in the air and you're like, what's happening? Why? And then sometimes you just got to go, okay. And this was one of those moments. As much as you wanted them, and you don't want the Dregs to win, you want the Dodgers to sweep the Dregs and make this a no contest, no question about them winning. This was one of those times that you just had to say, all right, good job. I guess I got to give it to you. Hit the ball right at, and by bunting to begin with, they brought Machado in a couple of steps more. So even though when he backed up because he was swinging away, he was still right there. Took a step, touched the bag, second, first. It was a textbook triple play. It was actually, if the Dodgers had done it, everybody would have been yelling about what a perfect play it was. But because it was the Dregs against the Dodgers, But yeah, Miggy. Though the question is yes, bunting's one thing, but he's been hitting really well overall. It's like, what do I want to do here? I don't know. And Shohei wasn't on base to tell Austin Barnes that we're going to double steal on the next pitch. So that came in a different series, but that was pretty funny. So they walk out of here. No W.
No W, and San Diego clinches a playoff berth.
Right.
So it's like they get the triple play. In a way, it's like, pouring salt in a wound, but we knew they were going to be in the playoffs.
Well, they were going to have to completely melt down over the last 6 games.
Right.
They were going to have to lose all of them. And that wasn't likely. They've come together at the right time. I said it last week. I've said it on Twitter. San Diego, regardless of how good any other team is, San Diego coming into the playoffs is a playoff team to beat in the National League because they came in strong. They're fully loaded. All their players, or most of their players, have come back off of the IL. They've got strong pitching. They've got more than 3 starters. And typically that's all you really look at. Do I have 3 solid starters for the playoffs? Well, they've got them. And they've got a great, almost unhittable bullpen at times. So now the thing is the world is ending because the Dodgers are on their way to be they're already in the playoffs, but they're on their way to be in the wild card, which we said could happen. And we go to game 2.
And the Dodgers score in the first inning.
Once again, not indicative of anything because the Padres scored 2 in the top of the second.
Exactly.
To have the lead. And they hold that lead until the bottom of the 4th, when the Dodgers scored 2 more. And then it's and then the Padres say and they tie it up in the top of the 5th. So here we are, 3-3, bottom of the 5th. They can't do anything. We go into the 6th, 0, another 0, and then finally in the bottom of the 6th, the Dodgers would tack on what ends up being the winning run. When Will Smith scores after a single by Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, and I think I said in that first game it was very flat. I felt like the crowd was flat. I felt the players were flat. And we've seen that before. And it's like, really, guys, seriously, is there some kind of switch that turns on when you play the Padres? What's going on? This second game, you don't often see, I think we've seen more emotion from Shohei Ohtani in the season that he's played with the Dodgers than I think. I mean, there were moments that when he played with the Angels, but he really I think having him show that emotion got the other players amped up, and they were showing the emotions. And we especially see that in the third game. But
yeah, I was going to say Will Smith.
Which you never. He's very low key.
Yeah.
In this game, the Dodgers end up winning 4-3, and Dylan Cease is on the mound against Jack Flaherty. They both go. They had really similar lines. The only difference was Cease did not give up a home run. Flaherty did to Tatis, but they both went 5 innings. Cease gave up 5 hits. Flaherty gave up 4 hits. They both gave up 3 runs. They both gave up 3 walks. Cease had 4 strikeouts. Jack Flaherty had 5. So very, very equal in that part. So is everything okay in Dodger land?
Well, at this point, they have a slight bit of breathing room.
Yes, a little bit.
What that tells us is, win or lose in the third game of this set, they can't just slide into Colorado and maybe try some things out we talked about. They actually need to go in there ready to win because we don't know at this point how many games it's going to take them to win the division if they want the bye.
Right. Exactly.
And we don't know because when the Padres get going, they're a force. When Tatis hit that home run, it really, energizes his team.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, you don't think about him as much, but he's still, one of the main spark plugs of that team. So they walk away with the W there, and we head into the finale. This is a Thursday game. So it's crazy. A series of this magnitude, not being a weekend series, but
right. Yeah. And it's right in the middle because it's, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's just kind of off.
They had Monday off, and then they've got to play 6 in a row.
Yeah.
To finish up the season. And we head into the ravine for what would actually be a pretty short game by all comparisons, or at league average these days. 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dodgers nor the Padres do anything for the first 4 innings.
Yeah, scoreless through 4. Walker Buehler's on the mound for the Dodgers. Joe Musgrove is on the mound for the Padres. And Walker, he had 1 strikeout in this game. But he only gave up 1 run, but he looked good. I think this was the first time I've seen him pitch this season where he looked confident in himself, because he's always looked uncomfortable to a certain extent when he's been on the mound.
Yeah.
And I think this game was like, oh, okay, maybe we're seeing, those glimpses that we want to see of the Walker. So he goes 5 innings. Musgrove goes 6 1/3. And again, in this game, the crowd was into it, which you have to be. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't be. But the players, the energy from the Dodger dugout, which a lot of times we don't see, and we saw it.
And there was a breakdown with the bullpen, San Diego's bullpen this time.
Yes,
They weren't as dominating as they usually are. A little bit of bad news out of this. Freddie Freeman turns an ankle.
yeah,
And my ankle's hurt after watching that happen for the next few days.
yeah.
And
I
it
mean,
didn't even happen to me.
I know. I know. Watching that, he was trying to avoid the tag at first base, and it's like, he turned his ankle, and I thought, and I have mentioned this before, but I broke my ankle, and I thought, oh man, please don't let it be, don't let it be that. But when I saw him get up and he walked off the field, he was, obviously walking gingerly. I thought, okay, it's going to be okay. And he did, and all the x-rays were good. The MRIs, all of that they do, that they did. He sprained his ankle, but it's very reminiscent of the game against the Brewers with Max Muncy at first base, where he got hit in the arm by the runner. And then that whole, that just,
right.
Yeah, it was like, no, I think all
basically
Dodger
led to the
fans.
lost season.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
But the Dodgers were down 2-0 going into the 7th. The Padres had scored 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. And they're like, all right, we don't have much more, there's only so many innings. And that's where Max Muncy, I think, walked.
Yeah,
and
he walked.
Then Will Smith hits his 20th home run to center field and ties the game at that point. And again, you mentioned Will Smith, and you just don't see a lot of emotion from him. That was like energy, and it was like what everybody needed to see. And the Dodgers go on into that inning and score. They score
total,
5. Yeah, 5 total runs. There was a Shohei single, Mookie singled, and it was just like, yes. And even like the emotion from Mookie, and we've seen emotion from him, but there was just something, and I really want them to continue, because that's what I want to see in how they go about going forward. But 5-2, and then they keep San Diego scoreless in the 7th, in the 8th, and the 9th. And then Andy Pages comes up just for good measure, because I was sitting there thinking, okay, it's 5-2, but we still need another run. We still need an insurance run. I know it's 5-2 and they have to get 3, but this is something kind of a Padre specialty, it seems like. So they need to get something. He comes up to bat and hits a towering home run. And the Dodgers win this game 7-2, and they win the division, which I didn't know if that was going to happen or not going into this series. I think it goes back to the nervous positivity that I had and obviously still have.
So really, at that point, going to Colorado means just playing it out. They don't have to worry. They could actually bring Tony Gonsolin up if they wanted to.
Which they didn't. Just
They left Freddie at home.
yes, which
to work on healing his ankle.
and Miguel Rojas also had made some really one like spectacular play, as he often does. He's been dealing with a left adductor injury, and he also did not play in Colorado and has been getting, I think, got a cortisone shot. So, which is something I think they've been doing throughout the season for him. So he did not play in Colorado. Keep him off get him some rest, get Freddie the rest. Freddie did not travel to Colorado with the team. So, yeah, in Colorado, it was all about Charlie Blackmon. This was his last series as a Colorado Rocky. He played 14 seasons with them. And he's always been one of my favorites one of my favorite ball players just to watch. He's always been fun to watch. And it's fun to see how he's changed from no beard to a beard. And if I see him with no beard, I'm like, who is that guy? I don't know who that is. But so they go into Colorado, and in the San Diego series, just to go back, Shohei stole his 56th base, and in the second game of that series, they go to Colorado. The first game of the series is a bullpen game. The Dodgers win 11-4. Shohei steals his 57th base. So when he had 56, he was tied with Ichiro, and for the most stolen bases by a Japanese-born player. In Colorado, he breaks that record and steals his 57th base. So he now is on the top of that board. It's him, Ichiro, and Dave Roberts.
You know, what's funny is that Shohei broke Dave Roberts' Japanese born or Japanese player home run thing when he hit 7 home runs.
Yeah.
Now the next Japanese player has to hit 55 to beat him.
Yeah, because also in this game, Shohei hits his 54th home run.
Right. So they end up sweeping Colorado, which I actually was kind of surprised by. I thought for sure that the Rockies would take at least one of them.
I did too, because normally the Rockies are always up for playing the Dodgers. And in this game, in the second game, Yamamoto was on the mound, and Dodgers win that game 13-2.
It was 11-4, 13-2.
Yeah.
It just, it's Shohei with another stolen base.
Yep, 58. And Kike Hernandez had a home run. Max Muncy had a home run. Teoscar had a home run in that game. The third game, not a high-scoring affair. It was 2-1. Shohei steals his 59th stolen base, but he does not. There was a lot of talk about Luis Arraez being not in the being going to play on Sunday, but and he had 314, I think his batting average was, and with him not playing, Shohei could have possibly, made
either
the
that
run.
or if he did play but went over.
Right. Yeah.
Shohei had a 3 for 4 or 4 for 5 day.
Yeah.
Or a 5 for 5 day, then he could have done it. But as it turns out, Luis Arraez does play, has a 1 for 3 or a 1 for 4 day, and that pretty much put it out of reach. At that point, because Shohei did not have.
He had a 1 for 4. Yeah, he was 1 for 4, and that was it.
But he got number 59.
Yeah. So he ends his regular season with 54 home runs, 130 RBIs, 59 stolen bases, 411 total bases, and 197 hits. Just a day at the office for Shohei.
So the Dodgers, we knew had already won the West, and just didn't know what. And they didn't play this series like it didn't matter. They played it like it mattered. They continued to stay on it. Obviously, you had a couple guys that were missing, and obviously at this point the big questions are who's moving on to be to the postseason roster. So some of these guys were like trying to make sure they did their best so that they would be in position for that. Pitching wise, a lot of these guys are going to go anyway.
Yeah, there's not really have a choice.
Not a lot of choice.
So they originally had said it was going to be Flaherty, Yamamoto, Buehler, and then Knack as the rotation. But they have switched that. Yamamoto is going to start game 1. Flaherty will start game 2. That would give them the option, if it goes to 5 games, for Yamamoto to pitch on his normal days rest.
So the Dodgers are hanging out, waiting. They're at the ravine. Guys are convalescing. They're getting themselves ready. This time it actually feels like having that week off might actually work in their favor. Don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
They're sitting there waiting for whoever comes out of the wild card, which is the series between San Diego and Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
2 teams that they both had trouble with. But as I've said, San Diego is surging. Atlanta is kind of in their spot where they've got injury issues.
Well, and they have a big one because Chris Sale, who I'm sure would have started game 1, did not pitch.
Well, that's what we thought was going to happen because of the way, and we'll talk about this in Around Baseball, but the way the end of the season went, everybody else finished on Sunday, but there were still a couple games on Monday. We'll talk about that in Around Baseball as we get into the playoffs and a few other things. Did you have a player of the week? Out of all those non-Angel notes that you took?
I don't know. I have non-Dodger notes. I know I have a lot of Dodger notes. I feel like I have to give it to Shohei again, because he's Shohei. I mean, look at what he's done. He hit his 54th home run. He stole how many bases? I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to go. It sounds like a cop-out. I'm just going to go Shohei this week.
Okay. I am going to give it to the Dodgers in general.
That's good. Yeah.
Because they could have easily slid through, let the Padres overwhelm them.
Yes.
And they didn't. They got in there. They won their 2. They end up sweeping Colorado, so they stay sharp there. And they didn't collapse like we've seen them do in the past.
Yeah, and I think I was concerned when I watched that first game, and I know we were texting back and forth, and I just said they seem flat again. There's no spark. The crowd, the players, it just was, and I thought, no, this can't happen. This can't be how it is.
Right. And luckily it wasn't, but will that game, that game 1 of that series, does that team, because that's normally the team that plays in the first round of the playoffs.
I know. That's the problem. I want the team that played the 3rd game of that series.
Yeah, they need to come out.
They
need to come out strong and not fool around with it. This is where, even though technically it's a 5-game series that they're going to play, there is no tomorrow. Every
Yeah.
game they need to play like it's an elimination game.
Exactly.
All right, we got the super playoff edition bullpen cart. Ready for action, ready to take us around baseball. And before we get to the playoffs and who made it in, and we know who made it out so far, before we get to all of that, we have to do some other business. As we wrap up the regular season, we've got Players of the Week for the last week of the season and September Players of the Month, etc.
All right. Probably no surprise for anyone, but the National League Player of the Week, Shohei Ohtani, who had a
Ohtani.
He had a 520 batting average, hit one home run, 4 doubles, and had 4 stolen bases.
Which, I got to go back real quick. Celebration with the Dodgers and Shohei. His wife is out on the field, as is Decoy.
Yes.
And they, that was pretty cool. Some of the pictures that came out of that were fun. What I want to know is, did you see what was on the back of his wife's jacket?
I think it was his number.
Oh,
I think it said 7.
She put her jacket on, and then she turned so he could see what was on the back, but I never saw what was on the back.
I think it was 17.
Funny.
Yeah. The American League Player of the Week is Jose Ramirez, who had a 500 batting average, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, and 6 RBIs. Jose.
And ended up 1 stolen base away from, or was it a home run? One or the other, from having a 40-40 season. Because their game versus the Asterix was rained out on the last day of the season.
That's
and because it didn't make any difference in the standings or seedings, they didn't
play it. So they only played 161 games.
They could have played it. Atlanta and New York had to play on Monday.
Yeah.
A doubleheader. They could have played.
They could have. But
anyway,
that
was fine. It was technically, for all purposes, it was a meaningless game in the end results. So that's why they didn't do it.
Exactly. And now we have Players of the Month. This is a guy whose name we heard in the Angels segment. The American League Player of the Month, Wyatt Langford of the Texas Rangers, had a 300 batting average, a 610 slugging percentage, a 996 OPS, 8 home runs, 7 stolen bases, and 20 RBIs. In the National League, I don't think this is a surprise for anyone. Shohei Ohtani is the Player of the Month, 10 home runs and 16 stolen bases, and created his own club, 50-50 Club, which he's now a member of the 54-59 Club. Is that
right? And they were going to apparently, had he got 57-57 or in there, Heinz 57 was gonna do something special.
Yeah, I think they had a special bottle.
Yeah,
that they were gonna give out. The American League pitcher of the month is Corbin Burns of the Orioles. He had a 1.20 ERA over 5 starts with 31 strikeouts in 30 innings, and he didn't allow more than 2 runs in any start, including a pair of scoreless games, to twice beat the Tigers. The National League pitcher of the month, Nick Martinez of the Reds, had a 4-1 record with a 0.83 ERA and 30 strikeouts. He held his opponent to 0 or 1 run in 4 of his 5 starts, and he didn't allow more than 1 earned run in any start. That's pretty impressive. And now we head to the rookie of the month for the American League. Any guesses?
Is he from Arlington?
He certainly is, and his name is Wyatt Langford. I mean, he was player of the month. We'll just give him rookie of the month. I already told you what he did. 300 average, those 20 RBIs, 8 home runs. Rookie of the month. And then the National League Rookie of the Month, Paul Scanes, 3-1 record, 0.75 ERA, 34 strikeouts in 24 innings over his final 5 starts of his rookie season. And in his final outing, they played the New York Yankees in New York, and he struck out Aaron Judge and Juan Soto.
And he was excited about that.
Yes. I would
And
be
they wanted
excited
to
about
shut
that.
him down. Somebody was talking about shutting him down. I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's silly. The American League reliever of the month, Emmanuel Clase. He was perfect, 7 for 7 in save opportunities in September. He has an American League leading 47 saves. This is the 3rd consecutive season that he has led the league in saves, and he didn't allow a single run in all of September. His ERA for this season, 0.61.
Wow. Just incredible.
I know.
I'm sure they wish he just pitch all the time.
All the time. Just put him up there.
Right?
You're on the mound. Pencil him in.
We're just gonna bolt you down to the mound. You are our pitcher all the time.
That's it.
Permanent pitcher.
That's it. The National League reliever of the month is Ryan Helsley of the St. Louis Cardinals. He had 49 saves, 7 saves in September, no earned runs. He had 1 unearned run, and he had 15 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings. And those are Players of the Week and Players of the Month.
And that'll put a wrap on the season.
That's it.
Yeah, there's no more of those. The next time we're talking about players like that will be in the earliest it happens, division series, when we start getting MVPs. Wild card series don't have those. So now it took right up to the last day +1 in order to get the playoff set. So the ones that we already knew, the Yankees, they got the number 1 seed in the East, followed by the Guardians. They took the number 2 seed. So those 2 teams have the bye. Houston made it in as the West representative, and then the 3 wild card teams, the Orioles, pretty much expected. And up until the end, towards the end of the season, there was question as to whether they were going to be the AL East representative like they were last year. But they get the top spot, followed by, turns out to be Detroit and Kansas City. But at the last second, it swaps. Kansas City becomes the 5th seed. Detroit becomes the 6th seed, which sends Detroit to Houston. And then Kansas City is going to play
Camden Yards.
The Orioles. Yep.
Yeah.
So, which also sets up interesting, if the Royals win, they go to play the Yankees, which was huge series back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all this going on. Then the other interesting thing with the American League is this matchup between the Tigers and the Asterix. AJ Hinch, who managed the Tigers at the beginning of their run where they've made the division series at least every season since 2016. And one, even though we can test one of them, has won 2 different World Series since 2016.
Yes.
In the National League, we knew that the Dodgers were getting in there and the Phillies. Well, the Dodgers, they got the number 1 spot. The Phillies took number 2, so they get the buys. And then that left the Brewers as the number 3 team from the division winners. We know that the Padres were the number 1 wild card. And then we weren't sure who else was going to be in there. The Diamondbacks played their season, got beat by the Padres 2 of the 3, and then they had to wait.
They had to wait, and there were all these crazy scenarios. It wasn't just like 1 or 2 scenarios. It was like
It was
10
like a
different
flow chart.
Yes,
If
it was
this,
like
then here. If that, then here. Then
yes, it was crazy. So so the Mets and the Braves played on Monday in a doubleheader to determine who's a wild card. And Arizona, as you mentioned, is in the mix.
So Arizona is at game 1 is rooting for either team
Right.
at that point. They don't care. But whoever wins game 1, they want them to also win game 2. Because if the Braves sweep, the Braves and the D-back gets in. If the Mets sweep the doubleheader, the D-backs are in with the Mets. If the Braves and the Mets split, no D-backs.
Yeah.
So those 2 teams get in. And there was a lot of talk about playing the game. Tim Kirkjian was talking about it on ESPN Baseball Tonight, and he's like, "Well, you got to play the games for the integrity of the game." Because there was a lot of conversations about if you're the Mets and the Braves, you could say, "Hey, I'm going to forfeit game 1, you forfeit game 2. We're both in," and then they save all their people. And if they did it right, the Mets were in Milwaukee. The Braves could win the first one. The Mets could win, and the Mets never have to leave Milwaukee because they'd play the Brewers, right? Nope. They had to go to Atlanta. They had to play 2.
They had to.
And,
well, I think it was also Ken Rosenthal said that he said MLB needs to do better because here's this final game and one team wins one. There's no incentive for the team to win both games was his argument. And I can see that, but at the same time, they're both in the East. And so to me, I would think you would want to go out there and try to win, sweep the doubleheader, so you can keep your rival National League East team out.
Right. You would think, but
you would think no.
So it ends up that the Diamondbacks were out having a workout with the game on the big screen.
On the big screen, and they had come to the stadium. The players had come to the stadium with their bags packed, ready to go wherever they were going to go.
Yeah, they were going to be the 6th seed in there, so they were going to Milwaukee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they would have gone to Milwaukee.
So, but they had to be ready to go right then because Tuesday they start playing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else got a day off for travel or whatever. They probably most of those teams left Sunday and went directly where they're doing, but they got a day off where they were going. And then Because the wild card, if you don't know this, is played. All three potential games are played in the same. There's no back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's 3 straight days in one place. So at this point, all we know is that Milwaukee's going to play at home and San Diego's going to play at home, but who they're going to play. So as it turns out, the Mets go back to Milwaukee and the Braves go to San Diego.
Yeah. And you kind of, I mean, I didn't really want to see the Diamondbacks in back because just, thinking we already have to deal with San Diego. And I thought, and possibly the Diamondbacks, it's too much. But I got to give it to whoever runs their Twitter account, because at the end of the first game, they were like, go Mets. And then at the end of the second game, it was like, what did you do to us? You totally ruined it for us. And they used SpongeBob, to get their feelings out.
As one does.
As one does, yes.
So we go to the playoffs, and wild cards are, all it takes is 2 games and you can move on.
And the majority of teams that win the first wild card game go on to win the wild card.
So you figure let's start with the American League.
Okay.
The Yankees in Cleveland they have the bye.
Yeah, so they're waiting.
Right. And then Houston and Detroit are playing, and then KC and Baltimore. Now we did some unofficial polls, and everybody kind of thought that Baltimore was going to win, but everybody picked Detroit.
Yeah,
for the upset.
Yeah, we did, just like I said, unofficial, and it was, the first one where we're talking about the American League. It's the Tigers, 71% over the Astros, who had 29% of people who voted. And so it's like, really? Because the Astros, I don't know. They've just always been there. And I think you always expect them to be there. You don't want them there, but they show up. They're like the uninvited guest.
But they're just there.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try to get away from
postseason crashers.
So the things that, and honestly, it kept me up, that after the first games, without a surprise, the Padres beat the Braves. But with the surprise, the Tigers beat the Asterix.
Mm-hmm.
Tarek Skubal pitched really well.
Oh, so good. I mean, he has to have win the American League Cy Young. I don't see anywhere around it. And he has Triple Crown too, with his ERA and everything. He's just amazing.
So yeah, he got the Triple Crown and all that. And the Tigers, they pretty much hold the Asterix to zeros. Framber Valdez on the mound, so you're thinking this is going to be a good one. Gives up 3 runs in the top of the second, and that's all that the Tigers would need.
Yeah.
To take out the Asterix. So you figure, well, that's just one game. The Asterix will probably come back the next day. Nope.
No, they did not.
The Tigers sweep 5-2 is how they end up winning this one. It's it's 1-0 going into the bottom of the 7th. The Asterix score 2 runs, and then the top of the 8th, the Tigers said, "Oh yeah, well we'll score 4, and to heck with you. We're moving on."
We are moving on. There's an account on Twitter that is MLB Facts. So it's, it's like a parody account, and sometimes you have to watch it because if you don't know, you'll be like, what happened?
Mhm.
But after it said, it was Jose Altuve, and they had a picture of him and a picture of AJ Hinch, and he's like, I don't have anything to say to that cheater.
Right.
It's awesome.
Interesting also came out of that was that the total payroll of the Detroit Tigers is less than what Josh Hader makes, and they ran Hader out of the game. So pretty easily. So Detroit goes on. Now the interesting thing is AJ Hinch was there when it started. AJ Hinch was there when their run ended.
Interesting. What kind of conspiracy theories?
Yeah, let's get something going on that. That would be awesome. Anyway, they so that ends that. That's
it. Over. They were done. They were business. It was like, we're going into the juice box and we're going to squeeze it until we win. And that's what they did.
And they done did it. So then we go to Baltimore. And here's the team that we know. It's hard to not overlook these guys because they've got so much young talent. They play so well, but they have pitching issues. We know that. And the Royals have been a pretty solid team. They haven't been the best team. And towards the end of the season, they went on a losing streak. But the Orioles going in had pitching problems. And they make it's known. The Orioles just, let's put it this way, they pitched in two situations where they probably should have walked Bobby Witt Jr., who won the AL batting title.
Yes. And the pitcher who on the mound for the Orioles, Corbin Burns, does he get his player of the month taken away?
I think he should have. No, I mean, he didn't pitch bad. I mean, he pitched 8 innings.
And he's pitching in October, so I guess we let him have September.
He pitched 8 innings.
Yeah, he did.
Only gave up 1 run. The thing is, though, and he pitched into the 9th.
Yeah,
he only faced 1 batter. So I think you got to give him that. And, but he's, the problem is he gave up 1 run.
Right. And
normally
that's all...
you go, that's fine. But the problem for him is Cole Raggins, who only went 6, didn't give up any runs. And then the 3 guys that followed him didn't give up any runs. So what does that tell me?
Well, it tells me, and from what I was watching, is the Orioles' offense was almost non-existent. They had 5 hits in this game, but they just couldn't, if they got somebody on, they couldn't capitalize on that.
Right. And the Royals just needed to capitalize on it one time, and that was Michael Garcia walks, still second, moves to third on a ground out, and then a single by Bobby Witt Jr. brings in Garcia.
That's it.
And
Small
that's
ball.
all they needed. That's all they needed. It was over. And, some of the guys that had been there all along, we see this happen in the postseason, but like Adley Rutschman hadn't been there for most of the end of the season. He had a bad second half.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't play as well, and it carried over into this series because the Royals take them out next day. Still another low-scoring affair, 2-1. And the Royals score in the 1st and the 6th. The Orioles are able to get 1 in the 5th. So they did score a run in this game compared, but they score one run over in the 2 games, and that you're not going to win that way. It's a home run by Cedric Mullins in the 5th, and that would be the end of it. Seth Lugo pretty much controls the Royals with the exception of that one mistake.
Yeah, and again, watching this game, in the first game the Orioles had 5 hits, in this game they had 6 hits, and again it was just they got somebody on, but they couldn't get them around to home. They just they just couldn't do it.
And for the second day in a row, a player gets on. This is in the top of the 6th, tied up 1-1. Kyle Isbell singles. Michael Massey singles, which puts Isbell at 3rd. And once again, they pitch to the AL batting champ, and he singles in Kyle Isbell. And guess what? That was all they needed. They win 2-1. And the Royals will go on to play the Yankees while the Guardians get the Tigers.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if I want either one of them, as the teams coming up, because now these 2 teams are hot and you've been sitting for a week.
Yeah. And I think too, with what's been the preparation for the team, what have they been doing? Will they be able to counter Detroit came out of nowhere. I think at the beginning of the season or at some point in the season, they had like a 0.2% chance of even making the postseason.
Even just a few episodes ago, I was discounting them.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
And finally, you forgot about them. I was like, oh yeah, Detroit's kind of is around there, but they're pretty much done. No, I'm pretty much done because they got in.
They got in. And they didn't have to do much against the Orioles. And the Orioles, this is like, 10 straight postseason games that they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
So
it ends up being, like I said, not a good day or good series for the Orioles. Not a good series for the Asterix. So if you're a team in orange, with the exception of Detroit, apparently.
Right. Well,
but if one of your main colors is orange,
yeah,
you were out of there. And you were out of there quickly. So we look over to the National League. I'm going to tell you right now, no brainer what happened in San Diego. The Braves came in unprepared for what was going to happen there. They had to play that game, 2 games on Monday. They were able to get out, but everybody figured that if they lost the first one, they would pitch Chris Sale in the second one to make sure they won. So they got in. But then we find out Chris Sale's not even going to pitch in the wild card.
Yeah, he had like back spasms or something going on.
Maybe wasn't even going to pitch at all in the postseason. And that's been settled. He won't be
pitching in the postseason thanks to the Padres.
The Dregs take him out 4-0 in the first game. And they had a pretty decent lead, 5-0. They scored all their Padres in game 2, scored all their runs in the second inning. Robert Suarez, the closer for the Padres, is pretty unstoppable. They do give up 4 total runs to the Braves this time. So the Braves did look like they might be able to do something, but they couldn't overcome the 5 from early on. And
they scored 2 in the 8th, but they weren't able to tack on anything more. So
Michael Harris the second with a home run there, and off of Jason Adam, which Jason Adam the night before looked like Superman. They couldn't touch anything that he threw.
Well, and you look at Max Fried, I mean, 2 innings. He gave up 8 hits. He gave up all 5 runs. He only has 2 strikeouts. He gave up the home run. He ends this postseason, this wild card series, with a 22.50 ERA.
Oh yeah.
It's
So he took all the damage. The bullpen does shut down the Padres after that, but
wasn't enough.
it wasn't enough. And so the Braves, and I think rightly so, the Braves weren't really at the end there. If you'd have looked at teams and who really, the Diamondbacks screwed themselves by not winning more at the end.
Yeah.
And they really went on a losing streak at the wrong time. And they needed to if they'd have beat the Dregs at least one more out of the 3, I think that puts them in, or a better opportunity to get in, depending on, because at that point, then it would have been the tiebreaker.
Right.
So no more Braves. And then, it's always weird. I always think Milwaukee's always in the postseason.
Right.
But they never do anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, they kind of are another team. You always see them. They're always there.
So,
yeah.
So the Mets turn around and come right back up. So these are 2 teams that just finished playing 3 games against each other. The Mets go play 2 more and then come back up to play potentially 3, versus the Brewers. And so it's like, what do we expect from this series? Well, these 2 teams seem to be fairly evenly matched.
Yeah, I think of all, I mean, when you look at Padres and the Braves, I think in our poll it was like 88% for the Padres and 17%. It's for the
it was lopsided.
It was super lopsided. But with the Mets and the Brewers, I think it was a little bit closer. When you look at, it was 88 and 13%. And then this was interesting, is the Brewers 67% and the Mets 33%.
So everyone's figuring Brewers, they should be the better team.
Well, and you look at what Willy Adames has done, and their pitching hasn't been too bad. The Mets have had some shaky, like Frankie Montas. So you're like, okay, what's going to happen? So what does happen?
Well, game 1, Brewers out in front to start everything off. They scored 2. They would only end up with 4 runs. The Mets in the top of the second. So the Brewers start, bottom of the first with 2. Top of the second, the Mets go ahead 3-2. So the Brewers wait till the 4th. They score 2 more, but it's the top of the 5th that really makes a difference in this game. That's when the Mets score 5 runs, and that was all they would need to walk away with the W in this one. Some questions being asked about why Freddie Peralta was pulled so soon. And I think it's like there was on Sunday during the NFL, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was like 18 for 18. They didn't miss a pass. And the head coach said, "Really? I feel bad now. I already gave the game ball to somebody else. I didn't realize that he had done that well." And the manager for the Brewers basically said, "I didn't realize Freddie Peralta was pitching as well as he was. I pulled him because of this." He only goes 4 innings. He had given up 3 runs, but he was pitching better. And they go ahead and pull him, and they end up getting thumped, 8-4 in this game. The the Mets, a lot of talk about starting Luis Severino in one of those games versus the Braves, and they held on to him. And it seems like that was the right idea because they got into the playoffs, and then Severino, walks, or pitches well to hold off the Brewers. So game 2, what we've been looking at and every other thing is sweep.
Yeah.
And the Mets look really strong. So is that what's going to happen here? Is it going to be another wild card sweep? We go to game 2, and the Brewers once again score in the first inning, but so did the Mets. And then the Mets take a 3-1 lead before the Brewers will score again, and it's 3-2 going into the 6th inning. And you're wondering, is this going to be it again? Because it just doesn't seem like they're, providing a lot of offense. But in the bottom of the 8th, the Brewers come alive, and they're able to score 3 runs in the bottom of that inning. Started off with a home run by the youngster Jackson Chourio, and then with Willie Adames on base, Garrett Mitchell hits a 2-run home run, and they're able to hold on with Francisco Lindor, Jose Iglesias, and Jesse Winker all come into the plate in the top of the 9th. They're able to shut them down. Devin Williams gets them out, and they split this. So the only one to go all 3 games will be this.
Is this one.
Yep.
So going into the game, you have who's going to make it? Is it going to be the Mets? Is it going to be Milwaukee? I kind of felt like Milwaukee kind of they're at home. They just won that game, to get to the third. Yeah, to get to the third game. And it looked like that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, you got, it takes a little bit in this game as they go through 6 scoreless. Nobody's getting there. They've got, the Brewers just have, a smattering of hits, just like the Mets. They end up with 4 hits and 2 hits apiece. And in the 7th, the bottom of the 7th, everybody's up, they're stretched. They get to jump up and stretch again, thanks to 2 home runs. One by Bowers and one by Sam Frelick. I'm not sure. I never remember how to say his name, but they both go yard, and American Family First Field is rocking.
Oh yeah, I mean, whatever the guy, what's his name? Their mascot. He's sliding down the slide.
I don't know.
He's having fun.
Benny Brewer. I don't know.
I like that. I like if it's not, but maybe it should be.
They won't listen to us anyway.
No. I know. Red Solo Cups. Come on. They lost the opportunity at the Coliseum.
That's right. And you know what? Those would probably work even better in Sacramento.
Yeah, we're just going to keep
at the AAA.
going.
And you know what's interesting is, I don't know why I didn't think about this when we were talking about it last week, but the Sacramento AAA team is the Giants AAA team.
Yeah, the River Cats.
I don't know why
crazy?
I didn't think about that. Yep. We'll talk a little bit more about that before we're done today.
But let's get back to the Mets.
Let's get down to this.
And the Brewers.
Next thing you know, it's the top of the 9th.
And going into the top of the 9th, you think Milwaukee's got this. It's 2-0.
Right, and it doesn't look like the Mets can do anything.
But let me remind you, this is the game of baseball.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And 2 guys on base, And somebody who shouldn't even be in Milwaukee in a dome stadium should be up on the frozen tundra of the North Pole. Comes up to bat. And polar bear like home run derby champion at one time for 2 times. Cranks one out, 3-run homer to give the Mets a 3-2 lead. And then a guy that Willie Adames wants to meet out in the parking lot after the game, the second game, Jesse Winker, also with a home run, and the Mets end up winning it because the Brewers can't do anything in the bottom of the ninth to get 2 or 3 more runs to at least tie it. And the Mets move on.
Yeah, they're going to be in Philadelphia.
That's the thing that's the weirdest thing is that here we are with what could be on any other week of the season, a regular interdivision matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Dodgers and the Dregs and the Mets and the Phillies.
Yeah. Any regular season series.
I would like to have seen it the other way around because the Phillies and the Dregs have history.
Yes, they do.
In playoffs, recent history.
Yes.
That would have been better.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was the thing is in Colorado, that's what the Dodgers, if they were playing for this or even they even thought about it, that's where they cemented their number 1 seed was in Colorado because because the Phillies kind of had, fallen off kind of towards the end. They weren't playing their normal Philly style baseball. So
right. Yeah, they had their issues. So now coming up on Saturday, we've got all 4 series start off in the American League. So the Guardians and the Tigers, the Yankees and the Royals, the Phillies and Mets, and then the last game of the day, the marquee matchup, I think everybody feels, is the Dodgers versus the Padres. So I think it would have been in the National League either way. It was going to be a good matchup regardless of who came in, because then if the Mets end up going to the Dodgers to play LA, then it's that Shohei versus Lindor MVP battle thing.
Right. Yeah. Which is not
doesn't matter because all the votes are already in.
Yeah.
But that's what could have been. So, but the National League looked like it could be better than the American League. We'll see. Because now, the other night, I kept thinking after the Tigers won the first game, I couldn't sleep.
Right.
Because it kept running through my head. And in the middle of the night, I tweeted Dregs Tigers 40th anniversary of the 1984 World Series.
Yes.
And I would say, like I've said, the Dregs are probably I think they're the team to beat. The Dodgers can beat them. I don't have any doubt of that. They did it just last week.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
But will they be fired up enough? They've been beat by the Dregs before.
I have a confession to make about that 1984 World Series. I remember watching that World Series, and I was rooting. That's the only time that I've ever rooted for the Padres was in that 1984 World Series. And the Tigers win, and I remember being so upset. Like, I can't believe they won. And then now I think about it, and I'm like, why did you care?
Steve Garvey was the first baseman for that Padres team.
And that's probably why.
And they still have never won a World Series.
Right.
Now I don't care if they win one or not.
Yeah. In 84, I cared. I don't care.
Everything starts on Saturday. These games are going to be between Fox and TBS as opposed to ESPN, ABC.
And ABC. Yeah. And there were some complaints about the wild card, but this always comes up because it's a wild card and it's, 3 games in a row and they all play on the same day. So you have to, you're not going to have all the teams play at the same time. So obviously there's going to be a game that starts in the afternoon, because, the first one, and then depending on where you live, and people are like, they shouldn't play games in the afternoon, but when else are they going to do it?
They should play them in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking, because everybody was posting, or not everybody, but there was a lot of posts about the 1978 playoff game between the Red Sox and the Yankees, and Bucky Dent's home run in that, which nobody could have cared about Bucky Dent, but now Red Sox fans curse Bucky Dent. And Mom took me out of school so that I could go home and watch that game. Afternoon baseball. And what do you expect? 11:30 start time for the first one, which was the Houston-Detroit game.
Yeah.
And then there was a little bit of overlap between that and the Baltimore KC game. And then there was enough of a gap between that and then the National League teams games were both in the afternoon, and a little bit of overlap between the Milwaukee game and the San Diego game.
Yeah. Think about what we just witnessed with Shohei Ohtani. That was an afternoon game, and the place was packed, and kids were there because parents who are true baseball fans know the importance of baseball. Who cares about math?
I miss math.
You got to be there to see history.
Mm-hmm.
It's still,
these are once in a lifetime things.
Yes.
Can you ever experience this again? Not likely.
No.
Even if you went every year, you may not experience the same thing ever again. So we got that. World Series starts at the end of October. I think I saw October 25th or October 26th, as I recall, will be the World Series when the World Series starts. And next week we will wrap up the division series. 5 games. You can sweep after 3, and that'll set up the division series. And we'll talk about all that next week if we need to. Just like this week, we can delay a little bit just so we get all of the scores in. So I want to go back and talk about the A's for just a second, just because of that. They're going to be playing there in Sacramento. But what we're talking about, the last game of the season, if you want to win, we talked about that. The Angels didn't win. They go into the 2.5 day drive for Ron Washington to think about, because he said he was driving home. 2.5 day drive. He's got nothing to think about what a bunch of losers they are.
I mean to laugh. It just
But the biggest bittersweet moment of the whole season came with the A's before the end of the season. But it was kind of sad to think the A's, who finished up in Seattle, I think, that they're never going to play there in Oakland again. They'll play in San Francisco when they play the Giants, but they'll never play in the Coliseum again that we're aware of. Because all the stuff in Las Vegas is not finalized. But it was a sad day to see these people. Just like, I was here at the first game of '68. I'm here for the last game of 2024.
Yeah.
There has been, as much as I've always hated the A's, I felt for their fans. Losing their team, and the history. It's not like they lost a team that never won anything. That was this team. They went through all those years of some great teams. They've had to put up with the whole Moneyball idea all this time. I thought about the A's in the second game of the Brewers Mets series because the pitchers used to be teammates on the A's, Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas.
That's right.
They started against each other in that game. It's like it just was kind of a sad, it's always a sad day when you're watching and it's the last game. No matter how good, watching the Dodgers win, great. Watching the Angels lose, and all the games are at the same time on that last day.
Yeah.
But knowing that, it's over for now, but knowing that you're never going to play the Oakland A's again, it was just kind of a sad, bittersweet moment.
It was, and
season.
And the fans came out. The last game that they played was on September 26th because they ended their season on the road. And I think they had close to 50,000 people.
Yeah, it was like 48 and change. So
yeah,
that's been the most they've had in a long time.
And to watch them sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" for last time in Oakland, to see the ground crew, people giving them bottles and bags and to get dirt from
that was very cool to see the grounds crews were doing that.
That makes me teary-eyed.
People were pulling up the seats, but they weren't going to let them take them out of there. And
no.
I think that the Oakland Ballers, which is an independent team that just started up, is hoping that the city of Oakland will let them play games in there.
Well, and I'd also heard that there's going to be I don't know if they play there already, but there's a soccer team that plays there. And so.
Oh yeah. I think the, what was the name of the Oakland, Soul?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So, they got pretty cool shirts. I saw them when I was up there last year, that are kind of cool. So, all right. Before we get to the final parts of today's show, some interesting news that I just got texted.
I'm going to let you break it.
I don't want to. You can break it. You text it. You break it. You
all
break
right.
it. You text it. You text it. You break it. I don't know. How does that work?
You have to pay for it. Terry Francona will be back in a Major League Baseball uniform, and he will be in Cincinnati as the new Reds manager.
Trading seas.
That's
from
it.
Cleveland to Cincy. Staying in the state.
Staying in the state, just moving south,
yeah,
right?
Moving southwest.
Yeah.
So that's it. That was interesting. That kind of surprised me. We'll talk more about, changes and stuff like that. We know that a lot of things were being changed for a lot of teams, over the last few days. And we'll see too, as we get farther along, if there'll be more coaching changes, even in some managers fired. We talked about that last week, that David Bell was let go. So interesting that they already got him. And I thought Tito was done.
I did too. I was super surprised when I saw that. I was like, what?
Well, you know what?
Sometimes you can't.
First
you
thing
can't
I
stay
looked
away.
But on MLB on Facts instead of.
Right. Is this true? And also big news out of San Francisco, because I think we did talk about this last week. I think we need to mention it. Farhan Zaidi, which I said, I don't know if he's still going to be there. He is not there. He is not there. And Buster Posey is now
taking his spot. Yeah,
he has taken his spot.
That's interesting. I mean,
I never would have thought that.
Can't do it, but I wouldn't have thought him either. No.
So we'll see.
Yep. So lots of those changes. When we talk about bittersweet, this has been a weird couple of weeks, because normally they always say when celebrities or when people die or stuff like that, they go in threes, right?
Yeah.
That's really not been the case. They've been going in I think everybody's like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. Because we talked about James Earl Jones a couple weeks ago or last week. John Amos, who recently died. And if you remember him, he was in Good Times.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought him up right after was that in Coming to America, the Eddie Murphy movie, they played fathers.
That's right.
They were, James Earl Jones was Prince Akeem's father. And then I don't remember her name, but the McDowell, because he was stealing from McDonald's, McDowell's. And anyway, but he just passed away. I was just saw him in Die Hard 2 the other day, where he's like the head of the major colonel that's in head of the group that ends up being a bunch of bad guys as well. John Amos gone. Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
John Ashton. Talk about Eddie Murphy. He was in the Beverly Hills Cop movies, including the one that just came out not long ago on Netflix, Beverly Hills Cop 4. John Ashton was in that, playing Taggart. He just recently passed away. One that you and I were talking about, Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
NBA Hall of Famer, dies of brain cancer, only 58. And we just going back thinking about the Geico commercial, among other things. He's just such a great, funny. No, not in my house. And then the mean tweets where it's like, well, I know who can take over for Cookie Monster's voice.
That's right.
Not anymore. But then the biggest one is probably the saddest one because of what didn't happen in his lifetime. His fault or not, Pete Rose passing away at 83. And if ever there was a time that I was like, this is kind of cool how the timing, the day before, he was with members of the Big Red Machine at a signing event.
Yeah, it was exactly where he loved to be. He loved being at those signing events, and he loved talking baseball. That was his life. And so, yeah, it's sad.
So as if you've seen any of our posts, I started immediately with lifetime ban is over. It's time to let him in. Isn't that what they say? And like when you get married, till death do us part. Well, I'm a free agent after that, right? Well, no more lifetime ban's over. And a lot of people I feel like are on that train, except for AJ Pierzynski, who the only reason I ever try to give him any bit of a break is because he shares a birthday with me. But he's a knucklehead.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he cheated. Yeah, but guess what? He cheated by betting on baseball. He never cheated the game of baseball.
Yeah.
And
you're never going to have a player that played like Pete Rose, ever.
Never. No
Never,
matter who. There's guys that are out there. Shohei Ohtani right now probably is the closest as having the focus, but he doesn't play all out all the time.
Well, and you're not ever going to see Superman head first dives into bases ever.
Not the way that Pete did it.
No.
So I don't think that I think he's being short-sighted. I also think he's just jealous because he's never going to be in the Hall of Fame. But Pete, people still talk about him. He does more for baseball, even out of baseball, than he ever did. Or not than he ever did, but as much as he did while he was playing the game. This is a guy that for like, I can't remember the years, but from like 20 something to 40 something, he missed 5 total games.
Yeah.
Every year he was playing 162 games or pretty close to it. And it was a sad, when you hear things like that. And it was just weird too, because so many people had been dying. What was the English actress, Maggie?
Maggie
is it
Smith? Ross?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No, I think it was Smith.
I think I used to work with somebody named Maggie Ross, but anyway.
Shout out to Maggie Ross if you're listening. She used
right.
to work with you.
Yeah. Well, I thought you talk about, Pete Rose doing a lot for the game of baseball. And it was his, he loved it. It was his life. And I just read, we had Keith O'Brien on the show, and the book talked about the book that he wrote, Charlie Hustle. And he said he asked Pete Rose about, when he died. And Pete Rose said that he would like to be, have people be in Red Stadium, or at Cincinnati in the stadium, and have charge people to go buy his casket, right? And, do it. And then take that money. And he was like, you'd probably get $1 million or more, and give it to the league, the baseball league, the Little League where he got his start. So he's still thinking about how he can give back to the game of baseball. Yes, what Pete Rose did was a lot of it. It was his own making. But I think Bob Costas, going back, Pete Rose said they asked him about going if he were to die. That's if after he died, being posthumously in the Hall of Fame, and he said, what could or would it do my family to put me in the hall after I die? But I think for his family, it would be some, I don't know, I don't want to say vindication, but maybe some, I don't know.
Maybe it does nothing for his family.
It might not.
But it does for baseball fans.
Exactly. And then Bob Costas said that he should have been in as a player. And we talked about this with Keith O'Brien. They took that vote away. The Hall of Fame took that vote away. They didn't even give him a chance to vote yay or nay. And he said justice can be tempered by mercy. And if he gets in now, it seems just as cruel because he doesn't get to experience it. But he still needs to be in. His whole point was he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
That's part of his payment.
That's right.
For his actions.
Right.
Is that, yes, you belong in the Hall of Fame more than half the guys that are probably in there. But you don't ever get to see it because of what you did.
Right. And very rarely do I agree with John Heyman, but John Heyman came out and said it was, and I know you mentioned it too, but it's a lifetime ban. Well, he served that. So
yeah.
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I think that just like they said, and Bob Costas mentioned that, banned from baseball. And somebody came along and said, well, it's about all of them, Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Black Sox of 1919 and all that. It's like, no, the rule that kept him out was not in place until 91.
Right.
They could have voted for him. Those other players, they were able to be voted on, and
right.
Nobody they just didn't get voted in.
Exactly.
But the writers, I think, would have voted him. And I think at this point it's time to let him in. And yeah, you know what? As far as that goes, yeah, there's a lot of things to be said. Should they have let him in when he was alive? Yeah. But he made that impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, doesn't mean he shouldn't be there. It just means that he doesn't get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a wrap for this week's edition of the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Find us on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And then, of course, head over to our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. You can get all the latest playoff gear for your team or any team. And check out what we have on the website. Not a lot there, but it's a good 10, 15 seconds worth of stuff that you might be able to.
Well, you
enjoy.
can also catch, you can also listen to all of our episodes from our website. So,
Yep. So a lot to see there. And then next week, by the time we talk to you next week, we'll know whether or not the Dodgers can beat the Padres. If they can get that playoff monkey off their back, we'll see if they've got enough to do that. And we'll see, can the Tigers be the Cinderella story this year? We'll see all that, and a great classic matchup between the Royals and the Yankees. All of that'll be done. Oh yeah, and the Mets and the Phillies.
yeah.
I feel like that's the least of the series now.
Yeah.
No, you know what? If not for the Tigers, if it had been the Asterix and Cleveland, that would have been the least. But because of the Tigers. But once again, another one of those series. The only series that isn't two teams from the same division is the Yankees Royals.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. That's right.
So we'll do all that next week, and maybe more. We never know. We'll see when we get there. So until next week, check out some playoff baseball, and don't forget to swing away.